Welcome to part 2 of One Horse Town by Blackberry Smoke. And this is going to be the introduction again, but now we're going to add in chords and some strumming to the mix. So it's not going to be just the riff like it was on part 1, which I'm going to include at the end of this video. And I might even put it in the description as well as an additional video that I did a while back that capoed the chords for this tune at 5th fret. So I'm going to include both those lessons at the end so you can check them out. So what I did this time around, like I mentioned before, I scored it with just guitar, again, just like in part 1. So I'm going to share the screen with you so you get to see it. And here it is. All right, so here it is. Looks very much like the last one. The first measure, I actually added a couple of beats of rest. Beats 1 and 2 are rested, and then we have a little riff coming in. There's a couple other little things I'll mention about this, namely in, actually, where's the measure? Actually, I'm thinking of a little bit of a hammer-on action in here, so there's some left-hand technique thrown into the mix. And also, there's a little bit of a bend that happens right about in here on the first ending. I didn't put it in because it sounds kind of funky. Even in the hammer-on section here, it sounded a little bit off in the playback of the tune. So you're going to hear that when I play it back for you. So the chords are the same, but as you can see now, there's more in the mix. You're the lead-in measure, just like in part 1. And then the full-on strumming with the chords. Still A minor chord for the first 2 bars, the next 2 bars into the first ending as well. So you have just the 2 chords in the very beginning, but now there's more to play, okay? And you'll see some alternate bass notes happening as well going through, you know, between the A and the open E string. So you can see here in the intabulation. So there's a bass note movement going on, just like in the song. And also, like I mentioned before, the hammer-on with a C in the bass, and then on B3, there's a G in the bass. So there's an alternating bass movement happening, okay? But there's a couple little things. I think even in the very beginning, too, there's a bend in the riff part, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, so I'm going to get out of the share for a second. So the part I'm talking about is in the very beginning. 1, 2. There's a little bit of a bend right in there. It's a very shallow bend. It's not very wide at all. Now in here, there's a little bit of a hammer-on in here between these notes. So you're playing a C and a D, and you're hammering on to the E note on the D string. So there's a little thing going on in there, and I'm going to bring you back into the lesson so you get to hear what this sounds like, okay? So share it again, and let's take you back to the beginning. All right, so tempo is at 99. That's the tempo that it's at. It's around 98, 99. It's not exactly metronomic. It's a little more feel involved with this. But just like we see in the previous lesson on this, the fretboard view is still here, so you can see everything light up if you're having trouble following along. So this is at tempo. So I'm going to play the playback at tempo, and then I'm going to slow it down for you. So here it comes. And at that part, the second ending is when you get the entrance of the first lyric. Okay, so this is the introduction into the first verse. Okay, so the next lesson, part 3, we're going to go into the verse of the next part of the song. So little by little, we're going to get more and more parts. So this is a pretty decent tune. I'm going to bring the tempo down slightly. Let's bring it down to like 60, and then play it back at that speed. Okay, and let's hear it at that tempo. Okay. And of course, if you're trying to play it at tempo and you're working your way up, you can use the playback settings on YouTube. When you go in there, just go into the settings, look for playback, and you can adjust the playback speed faster or slower. Okay, so here it is at 60. Let's go back to the beginning, and here it comes. you go. Let's bring it back to 99. And we'll be all set there. The other thing too, with the riff part, there's some right hand technique you can throw in if you want to play all these single notes of the riff, just like in part 1. If you want to do those down picked, you can. So whenever you get your single note bit coming up, I didn't indicate anything with the right hand. You can see in the strumming I did is down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So in the chord part for the right hand part, your strumming, I actually indicated some direction. With the single notes, you have an option. You can do your down pick for everything, or you can alternate pick. It's up to you. So you would play like, you know, down, 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 down for that part, or down, up, then your first note. All these single notes ring out. So it sounds very mechanical in the playback with the score, with the audio here. But when you go to play it back on your own, when you start playing it through, you want to try to get some sustain in the mix. So the playback is what it is on these types of formats with computers. So that's something you can think of when you go and you play these through for the right hand in particular. All right. And also the hammer on that's back over here, you know, you could choose to just leave it out if you want to just go into the chord, you know. Do something like that. I'll bring us out of the share here. And so that part, you know. You can see too, I actually down picked everything for the riff. Okay, so that's something you could think of, or you can try. If it makes it easier to just down pick everything for that riff, you can. You don't have to do anything with alternate picking if you don't want to. So it's a good technique if you want to use the tune to develop some right hand technique. Some alternate picking could be great. If you're doing alternate picking, you're not so hot with the down picking, you can use the riff of this tune to actually work on that technique in a very sort of straight ahead setting. Okay, so that's pretty much the deal with the lesson. It's very short. That's some of the things I want to mention that, you know, in the score when you go back to see the score, and I'll go back to it one more time to make sure I've addressed all the points that I want to. With the riff, the bend part here, the bend part over here, it's very subtle in the song. So when you go back and listen to the tune, the actual tune by Blackberry Smoke, you can actually hear, you know, the little bend he does in there. And if you watch some live footage of them performing the tune, there's a few different clips on YouTube here where you can actually go and view what they're doing. So I'm sure you've seen the videos. But yeah, if you need to reference something, you might want to go to some of these live videos that are up, okay, and check them out. So again, single notes, we left out the right hand technique. You can decide what you want. These little motions here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. The down strum motion is indicated with that symbol right there. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up. So once you get past B1, it's pretty much like your right hand's moving through, constantly alternating direction with those bass note bits thrown in there too, right? So you have an alternating bass note run, which is very nice with the tune, okay? And we'll smooth this down. So that's the idea behind this tune. It's a lot of fun to play. Really straight. It's in the key of A minor, which is related to C major. That's something we'll talk about down the road when we get into the verse section, because now we're getting more into the chords, okay? So that's something that we'll definitely address and talk about the idea of key in the next installment, because we're going to get more into the chords, okay? So that is the deal. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything I wanted to in this video. And there you have it, folks. Let's get out of the share. And have a great time with the video. Any questions, any comments, you're more than welcome to put them down underneath the video, of course. And if you like the video, feel free to like it and subscribe if you want to subscribe. And I will post, like I mentioned before, part 1 of this lesson will be posted here at the end. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care.